After 5 years, the suspect allegedly in the January 6th pipe bombing that never went off has been arrested. I saw the story come down at like 8:30 this morning. Authorities have arrested a suspect in the January 5th, 2021 pipe bombing case. It took place on the Capitol. 2 viable explosive devices were placed overnight outside of both the Democratic and the Republican National Committee headquarters in Washington. The bombs were discovered the morning of January 6th, just before the riot at the Capitol. Surveillance video captured a person in a dark SUV planting said bombs. That footage has now led to an arrest after 5 years. The FBI, in coordination with the CIA, have studied forensic evidence and public tips to identify the suspect. We have the name of the suspect taken into custody. We will give you that name in just a minute. A reward of up to $500,000 was originally offered. I would think that that reward would have been higher, considering the actual threat that this crime could have had or the damage that it could have done. The suspect now in federal custody. Charges are expected soon. Viva, what do you know right now about the pipe bombing suspect?
If we can bring up the headline from the New York Times just so that people can appreciate how to read critically, where it says suspect arrested in inquiry into pipe bombs, not the suspected pipe bomber planter himself. CBS News was reporting man arrested, or they didn't say man, but suspect arrested in connection with. My question is, in connection with, what does that mean? Does that mean that they were part of some conspiracy to build the bomb? Does it mean that that was the guy that we see on video actually planting it? People are telling me from the inside, or at least people who are closer to the inside than me, that it's the suspect is the individual who is alleged to have planted it. We shall see. When you mentioned the 5-year time frame, it's very relevant because as of January 7, 2026, much of these charges, unless they're terrorist-related, and even then would be barred by the statute of limitations for prosecution. And so this was, we're coming up on the 5-year statute of limitations, but to me, the more interesting time frame is not the 5 years, because everybody's been complaining about this for 4 years and 9 months. This arrest, or this announcement, comes a month after Steve Baker's article in The Blaze, positing who he identified via gate analysis would have been the potential suspected pipe bomber. And that seems to be the impetus, or at least it coincides to a great degree of timeliness with this release from the FBI.
How much worse could that day have been had these 2 pipe bombs gone off? They were planted, according to reports, planted at 7:30 and 8:30 the night of January 5th, the day before the Capitol riot. Things looked out of control from all of the footage that I've seen. Just imagine how much worse that day could have been had these devices gone off.
But that's the thing, Rob. They never were going to. Because while they were allegedly, according to what we've been told, operable bombs, they were on kitchen timers, which means they could have been set for a maximum of 60 minutes, which means if they were planted the night before, there was no chance they were going to be detonated.
So they would have went off at 8:30 and 9:30 respectively.
Yes.
At a max.
Because they're just the little wind-up egg timers that will, at maximum, 60 minutes. So for someone to plant them the night before, only for them to be discovered the morning of, really shows that there was never an intent for them to be detonated, which raises all sorts of questions, because Kamala Harris was at the DNC the morning of January 6th. Her security team did a sweep of the area and apparently didn't find the bomb in a trash can that was feet away from her, which raises questions of either, was her security team incompetent? Did they deliberately overlook the bomb? Or did they put it there on purpose so that she could have this whole story years later about, oh, I was in fear for my life, inches away from a bomb that never had a chance of going off?
They were discovered at 1:07 p.m. January 6th. This was the one by the Democratic National Committee headquarters, discovered 1:07 p.m. in the afternoon on January 6th. The RNC bomb was actually discovered just a little bit before that, 12:40 to 12:50 p.m. by Capitol Police on the day of the Capitol insurrection.
And of course, the DNC bomb was the one that the media talked about, because they wanted to make it sound like radical Proud Boy pro-Trump operatives were trying to bomb the DNC. They didn't really hype up the RNC one until much later, because then it shows someone was targeting both political parties if this was actually a legitimate attack. And all signs point to it was not.
And according to you, Viva, you're correct. Under 18 U.S. Constitution 3282A, the default statute of limitations for most non-capital federal crimes, including violations of federal explosives laws, such as unlawful possession, transport, or placement of explosive devices, is 5 years from the offense date. So you were right. It's less than 30 days away.
It's the United States Code, and I think the only exception is for
US
actual
code, you're right,
actual terrorism that results in bodily harm, which this did not. To Connor's point, there was some argument, some hypothesizing that the bombs might have been picked up and replaced later the next day to explain away how security allegedly missed them. But the funny thing is, like, it's a weird thing that Kamala Harris did not raise this issue a little bit more, the degree to which she could have potentially been a victim, which leads people to believe that either she wasn't actually there the day of, or they knew these things were something of a ploy to exacerbate or distract from the events of January 6th, or to be the catalyst for the events of January 6th, but the break into the Capitol building took hold, so they no longer needed this excuse here, so they didn't quietly just, whisk that off.
I absolutely agree. Like, these people bank on outcomes. You know what I mean? We discussed this week, Tim Walz. He thought he was going to be the next vice president of the United States. He didn't see the whole thing that's coming to him this week, all right? And then the same thing, bombs, both sides that could be disregarded, but it's a perfect out if they need them. You know what I mean? They photograph everything. They have all the evidence. And it's just funny, the timing. 5 years later, statute of limitations. Now we know everything about it. I want to, this is kind of sidebar, but they caught the guy because of his sneakers, all right? The model is the Nike Air Max.
That's so funny. I was looking at your computer and saw you looking up sneakers, and I was like, is he shopping for shoes during the podcast?
No, they're a limited, I say limited print. They only made like 22,000 of these.
This is kind of bizarre. I don't know if you guys are familiar with StockX.
I'm not. No.
All right, StockX, like if you want a particular model from a year, like usually the sneakers are worth something, you will buy them there. Like, cause most, like the sneaker market is disgusting. Like when you have a nice pair of sneakers that drops, people buy all of the stock, they put it there, they save them.
Oh, wow, okay. Like you can buy Jordan 3s.
You can buy
like
Jordan
1989.
The aftermarket for those shoes is wild, and
It's
the
wild.
the lineups when they drop at these exclusive stores that sell them.
If you go to this particular model, like they have a price graph, all right? And it was stuck from May 4th. It was stuck at $70. That's
May 4th of what year?
of this year
Okay.
at retail. After the news broke, it doubled in price to $154. So people are looking for them again.
As of this morning?
As of this morning.
Oh shit, we should buy some now.
We should
and
buy
sell
some
them
now.
on. Oh well, they'll probably jump the price up. All right, so they identified the guy by the shoes. Have we named the suspect yet?
He has been named as Brian Cole, but hold on, I do want to get back to how they identified him based on the shoes, because we knew the person had those shoes. I remember tweeting about it at the time. Not that hard to find who bought these shoes, because they only made 22,500, give or take.
Limited run.
But then, they can be sold at off market or places where there's going to be no real trace of transaction. What was the connection to the shoes to the guy? Brian Cole from Virginia is the suspect named by police, so I guess people feel more comfortable naming this guy right now.
Yeah, according to the New York Post says sources within the police department that took Brian Cole into custody confirmed his identity as the person suspected of planting the pipe bombs. That's according to the New York Post. What are the odds? Okay. What are the odds that the guy that they arrest for this incident and his alleged involvement into it, they arrest him at his home in Virginia, which is also home to Langley, which is where the CIA's headquarters are? Does anyone think that it's illegal? I mean, there's 50 states in the United States of America. What are the odds that the guy was arrested in the same state that has CIA headquarters and is also very close in proximity to D.C.?
They could have arrested him in any state, and I would still think it was a CIA operation, because
All right, that's fair.
we'll talk about later, the CIA and their psychological operations and everything, they're everywhere. That's not a secret, but this operation has reeked of some sort of conspiracy for years, because this is the streets of Washington, D.C., the most heavily surveilled city on the planet, or at least one of them. At the headquarters
of the party, both of them.
Exactly.
And all that you have are single frame pixelated images.
Well,
that
on
the FBI
cameras that
released.
look like they haven't been updated since the 90s.
They had been
with
digitally-
known security sweeps on both sides. Like,
And they
with
were
full teams
even with all that,
sweeping.
they were still able to extrapolate out, okay, we know his shoes. We know what the guy was wearing. We know how tall he is, allegedly. So I'm interested to see is Brian Cole 5'7"? Because they said the suspect is about 5'7", But you know who was 5'7"? The woman that Steve Baker identified in his article for The Blaze, who then went on to, I believe she was seen shooting pepper rounds into the crowd on January 6th.
The individual that Steve Baker identified as potentially being the suspect based on gait analysis, whether or not that identification is accurate, the woman was, in fact, Capitol Police officer, in fact, shooting rubber bullets in a manner that had been described by experts as being...
And I believe now works for the CIA.
And now works for the CIA's campus security.
Not the most reputable of news sources, the Hindustan Times.
They do great work.
They have identified Brian Cole as 30 years old, a resident of Woodbridge, Virginia. When I put in, how far is Woodbridge, Virginia from Langley? It's actually 25.7 miles, 32-minute drive. So, I mean, that would be think about it. When you have a job, you don't want to have a long commute. Normally, people try and aim within a 30 to 40-minute drive. This guy is right in proximity to Langley headquarters.
Is there an image? And have they identified whether or not he's 5'7"? Because one thing I've learned from having moved to America, everybody's taller than 5'7" out here. Every man, I should say. I'm like, 5'5" and a half, 5'6" on a good day, and everybody is a good 6 inches taller than me.
Maybe something might be able to help you. Could you pull up the FLB ones quickly, if you don't mind? This is a chance to do a quick
Speaking of limited edition shoes.
Yes.
Go on.
So check this out. We launched these shoes. They're very comfortable. They're handmade in Italy. They're amazing footwear. They're the FLB ones. They're available at vtmerch.com. They're a great shoe. I was gifted a pair of these shoes. Pat asked me, how do you like the shoes? And I was honest with him. I said, Pat, I know this doesn't mean a lot for you. The comfort's very good. They're very comfortable. But Pat's tall. He's like 6. How tall is Pat?
6'2"? He's got to be 6.
Like 6'5".
6'7".
So he doesn't understand this, but for me and you, Viva, these shoes add a ½ inch to an inch of height. I went from looking up to my wife to looking eye to eye with my wife when I was wearing them. I said, that is the biggest selling point for these shoes, is we can give you the gift of height. If you buy the FLB ones this Christmas, the gift of height could be yours.
Yeah, and then they're going to take a picture of you and say, like, this is Robert De Niro wearing platforms to get an extra 4 inches.
Like, I think
we also have the Ron DeSantis special shoes that add an extra 3 to 6 inches to your height.
But I think at least they did their research. If they said he was 5'11", I would have called it bullshit because nobody's 5'11".
It doesn't match they don't list his height in here. All they've listed is 30 years old, resident of Woodbridge, Virginia. So he would have been 25 at the time that he planted
no
these
social
bombs.
media footprint. No social. We'll see. Look, we'll see about
That is odd because most people between 25 and 30 are on every single
Well,
social media.
I'm
Instagram.
I'm hypothesizing because as of now, I imagine
I can't find it.
Well, the name like Brian Cole is sufficiently generic. You're going to pull up a lot of people named Brian Cole.
When you put it in, Brian J. Cole, a surgeon in Oak Park, Illinois, is the first person that shows up. I feel bad for that guy because all day people are going to be like, oh, it's the pipe bomber. No, was he my surgeon?
Well, think about the Jeffrey Epstein who gave money to Lee Zeldin. It's like it's a completely different guy.
I don't think that he should wear it. I don't think the story is going to get traction like on the national level. Have you seen it everywhere?
I saw it. Yeah. I saw it on Fox, but here's what's weird. Normally, when stories break, I'll get a few alerts on my phone from New York Post, from Daily Mail, a bunch of different outlets. No alerts this morning. I only found this story because I went on looking for stories for tomorrow's PBD podcast. I'm like, wait a minute, this broke at 8:30 and it was 9:15. I'm like, and no one here had known. And we're in 18 different group chats where we talk about news.
I knew of this immediately because I've been following the story. I've had on a guy named Kyle Seraphin, who's an FBI whistleblower.
I'm aware of
I've had
He's
Steve
been
Baker
on PBD before.
Yeah, they're good guys. They've been, Steve Baker put out the story, and I said it was a compelling story.
He actually said something.
Steve Baker?
Yeah.
Not yet. Not since the publication.
Well, hold on. So Steve Baker and Kyle Seraphin are like the two most vocal people about the pipe bombing case, among other things.
FBI chicanery at large.
Which I guess goes to show what happens because they're being sued by Alexis Wilkins. Those are the two people that
not Steve Baker.
Steve Baker's being targeted with the lawsuit, I believe.
By allegedly, though, from what I understand, there hasn't been any letter of demand or lawsuit from the woman that he identified. Kyle Seraphin's being sued by Alexis.
Not by the woman they identified as the pipe bomber, but Kash Patel's girlfriend is going after all of them for the Mossad honeypot claim. Yes.
I thought it was Kyle Seraphin, Elijah
Steve Baker
Schaefer.
was listed in some of the declarations, even though Elijah Schaefer and Kyle Seraphin
and Sam Parker.
That was just going after.
Steve Baker's last post on X was yesterday afternoon at 12:53 p.m. and it was about the January 6th pipe bombing. In case you're wondering why there has been no action in our series of stories revealing knowledge and complicity by certain Capitol Police actors in the January 6th pipe bombing conspiracy, and he quotes, "They are being completely steamrolled by the Comey Ray zealots they've promoted." So he has not issued a statement regarding the arrest of the suspect, but it only is a few hours old. It's only 2-3 hours old.
Yeah,
so
we're gonna need some. What's amazing is that rarely do you get two diametrically opposed theories that are, I say equally plausible. We don't know what the details are yet of Brian Cole. Steve Baker's story, whether you agree with it or not, was sufficiently fleshed out and evidenced based on a theory of gate analysis, which is recognized by intelligence. You got now the FBI. Timing-wise, it's a wild coincidence. It coincides with the Steve Baker story. It's also, not so wild that it coincides with statute of limitations. They're saying someone else. Now, we don't know if there's any relation. And if it turns out that Steve Baker was out in left field, his analysis was just wrong, it's going to be interesting. But the one thing is, people will be sufficiently skeptical based on the lack of transparency that we've had that they might never believe the official narrative, and they might always still believe Steve Baker.
And
That's a
you're
very
correct.
good point.
I was getting Sam Parker and Steve Baker confused, but you can see the problem with the people who are most vocal about trying to bring transparency to the FBI on subjects like the pipe bombing case are being targeted with lawsuits from the FBI and their affiliates.
Because the last theory I was on board with the lady and the gate analysis and everything. Then I see this evidence that we have pictures and everything. We have a suspect ish, because is it a suspect? I don't know.
They've called him a
person of
suspect.
interest.
No, they've called him a suspect. He's been arrested, I believe.
So they call him a suspect. And it makes me think about a third theory. Like, it could be the official narrative. Like, it could be an anarchist. Like, if I put a bomb here on the Republican and a bomb on the Democrat side, maybe he wanted anarchy. I don't know.
You know what? I'm going to...
Is it not plausible that it's one crazy guy?
Thinking out loud, have we heard one shred of evidence of anarchists being involved in the insurrection of January 6th in the last 5 years?
No.
So now 5 years later, an anarchist group that we had not yet known about was involved in terrorist attack on January 6th, and for 5 years we haven't seen one lick of evidence. What I'm thinking, I still think, what would it take to convince me that this is correct? If they find the shoes in his apartment, well, holy crap, there's 22,000 of those shoes
what are
out
the
there.
odds that this guy? But what are the odds that if he would hold on to those shoes, knowing how highly publicized it was, that's what.
And also,
if you want a patsy and you want your orgy of evidence, like you had a Minority Report, you're going to have the shoes in his place. You're going to have leftover clippings of the bomb 5 years later. I want to know what the evidence is. I'm very skeptical.
Does it make it more credible or less credible? The shoes
if they have the shoes, I would say, holy shit, that's
the
more
fact that some of the
FBI, I would be very skeptical that he would retain the shoes after 5 years
anymore.
I've seen analysts, though, go over the fact that the bombs discovered outside the buildings are constructed to the exact specifications of the ones they use to train FBI agents on how to disarm homemade bombs. So it's like they just went to the FBI supply closet, got out the bombs they were using for training, and dropped them outside of the DNC. So these things need to be explained. Either this guy knew how to make a bomb according to FBI specifications, or he got the bomb from them. But you can't just gloss over that.
It's wild. It took 5 years, and only now. I mean, it's just, what was the break? What was the break in the last month to 6 months? There had to have been something that says, oh, there was an anarchist group that we knew about or that we just discovered in looking over the FBI's file that they didn't look into. And if the old FBI didn't look into this guy and the anarchist group, despite having had the evidence, why not? Were they using that anarchist
People
group?
have been doing inquiries into this for years. They pinged cell phone data. They were looking at cameras in the surrounding area. Then every couple months, some independent journalist
looking
would
at the
make a couple
pictures, he
claims
was so
about it.
casual about it. Like, if you have an explosive device in your bag, you're in the middle of DC, you were just strolling around, or that's why you can't.
Yeah, I'd be careful not to have them bumping
Right?
next to one another. I'd place it down very carefully, unless you knew that there was. Were they actually deemed bombs that could have gone off?
We have been told.
without
We've
the
been
timer.
told that they were viable.
Yeah.
They were
Okay, they
viable,
did,
but-
they did say that in
Yeah.
the arrest
But they
report.
could not have gone off unless the timers were set. But even then,
No, that's-
you're afraid
that's-
of jostling the timer in your backpack and then like, oh, I accidentally set it to 30 seconds and then it blew me up.
I've seen enough MacGyvers to know that those things can go off at any
Mm-hmm.
time.
All right, I want to move on, but before we do, let's wrap up. I want everybody's opinion. Do we believe that Brian Cole, 30 years old of, what is it, Woodbridge,
Langley, Virginia.
Do we believe, A, he was involved, and B, did he act alone, Viva?
Right now, I'm very, very skeptical, and I would say that if he's involved, it's by way of some sort of group conspiracy. But I'm not believing that they just now discovered 5 years later that there was evidence of anarchists involved in January 6th, and it had never been disclosed or investigated by the past FBI or the current until now.
Connor, and then Humberto, I'll give you final word.
I will withhold final judgment pending more evidence, but right now I'm inclined to believe that no, this is not the full story here.
Humberto.
I'm 100% with the CIA.
As in CIA did
it?
No, this is an official narrative. It looks good.
So they've got the guy.
Yeah.
He will be brought to
And
justice.
this-
He'll admit it. They'll find the shoes in his apartment. all the
1,000%. And we're
bombshells
gonna see justice served.
Okay.
Like very
They're
soon.
gonna come and say, "Oh, we found an eyelash of his twisted in the
And
capsule of
they're
the."
amazing. They're amazing. Forget about it. This is a wrap.
Got to protect that work visa somehow, buddy.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.